Hello, welcome to Insight. Prior to and since Nigeria's independence from British colonial rule, the issue of the role of women in politics has been a source of debate. Of course, there have been arguments as to how much so women should be involved in politics. We will be looking at some social factors, cultural factors that have inhibited the achievement of this campaign. We would also be looking at NOTAB, that is the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, its mandate and how much so it has impacted in driving technology in Nigeria. So Cecil Egbele is also standing by with the media review segment. Cecil?
Yeah, on media review segment, Nnamdi, will take the issue of women participation in politics and leadership a step further. I know how much the media has done in this area. I'll have with me on set a guest who's practiced media and who runs a forum where she discusses issues of women in politics and leadership. It promises to be an interesting discourse.
Indeed, Cecil, it promises to sure be an interesting episode. Up next is the discussion segment. Welcome back. As promised, we will be bringing you a topical issue today on the program, Women and Politics. It's been a subject of debate prior and since independence, of course, the role of women in politics. There's been argument back and forth as to the level of women participation in politics and where it should be. Of course, we do know of the 35% affirmative action. We also do know of the recently concluded primaries and the fallout of those primaries and how much or the amount of women involved or that were involved in the primaries. Well, joining me today to discuss this issue are two ladies. I would describe them, they're actually both politicians. I have Devan Mom with me. She's also a communication expert. Devan, welcome to the program.
Hello, Nnamdi.
Also joining us, or rather also with us in the studio, is Dr. Zipporah Azege. She is a politician. Doc, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Just before we came on, we were discussing something that Deva was quite passionate about what she was explaining. I was talking about this collective cynicism. Of course, I did also say it's not restricted to the women folk. It's also a thing you see play out amongst men too, where you hear people say, she's a lady in politics. I mean, we hear that all the time. Devon seemed to disagree with me earlier. You were trying to explain why you disagree. Please, would you tell me and try to convince me to why you don't agree to this?
I agree it exists. What you call cynicism, I prefer to see as misogyny, which is a concept that seems to suggest that women are somehow lesser mortals than men. I will never be religious enough to agree with that concept. I just don't agree. I think every human life has the exact same value. So I do not believe that any human is less than any other, regardless of their circumstances. Every life has value. Every person has some worth. Now, it also plays out within this false narrative that women are our own worst enemies. And I've never been able to understand where that comes from. More often than not, if two countries go to war, go and look for their presidents. They're both male. Are there two aspirants vying for the same office? Most likely, it's two men that will send assassins after each other. But for some weird reason, women are expected to agree every time a woman says something, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how absurd, for the simple fact that, oh, she's a woman, you are a woman, you should agree, and I say no. And this is it. If, for instance, now we're saying that we want more women in positions of authority, we want more women taking part in active partisan politics and so on and so forth. You have to be bringing something to the table. I need to know that you're worthy of that office to get my support. Otherwise, I'll support the man. If I think he is more qualified and better placed than you are to handle it properly, I'll not support you just because you are female. I will support you because you are female and you are bringing something to the table that is worthwhile. So the fact that you're female and you have this viewpoint and I'm female too and I'm automatically supposed to agree with you is something I completely disagree with. It doesn't work that way. We should have the right to disagree with each other because that helps us to grow. So I will not say, oh, is she a woman? Oh, she's running for president. And she, oh, okay, what are her credentials? Okay, she used to own a salon. Okay, that's good. What else? Oh, she has secondary, okay, good. Who are those people she's contesting with? What has she contributed to her community?
Let me quickly come in here. My point really is this. Maybe I should, perhaps I should rephrase. Shouldn't we see women, I know your women have already taken up this fight, but shouldn't we see women supporting women more? I'll come to that. I think it was sometime in 1918 in the United Kingdom where women in the UK fought for the women's suffrage.
Yeah, the right to vote.
Yes, the right to vote. Yes. Women took up this fight. Yes. Why are we not seeing that play out here in Nigeria? No, I'll give you a quick one. Let me give you a quick one, another quick one.
Yeah.
Professor Sarah Jubril.
Yes.
She broke the ceiling. We all agree. I mean,
by contesting, I think twice.
Yes, presidential. Yeah. The first time she had just one vote in the primaries.
The first time or the second time?
First time she had just one vote. I stand to be corrected, but if I do recall, it was just one vote.
There are reasons to that. Beyond that she was just a woman.
Like I said,
there are reasons to that. Just that.
I stand to be corrected. But if I'm not mistaken, it was one vote. And that must have been a vote. What that translates to is that even the women who went with her, the women female delegates who were at the primaries, who went with her, did not cast their vote in her favor.
Okay, I think I understand where you're coming from now. We're looking at it from the perspective of more women should speak for women and so on and so forth, and I agree. That is coming up gradually. It's building steam, and it's really going somewhere. Women are supporting women. Men are supporting women. Like where I come from, for instance, let me speak specifically for my own place. I agree that women need to do more, especially those who are already in positions of authority, who have a voice. They really need to speak more for those of us who are trying to come in. But the shocking thing, where in my constituency at least, it's the men who want women to vie for political office. Why? Because there's a woman in the neighboring constituency who is working signs and wonders. Okay. Yes, and they look in that constituency and they're like, okay, this one is doing so well. I mean, let me even call her name, Honorable Dorothy Matu. She's doing fantastic in her constituency, and she's been there less than 2 years. Why? Because her mandate was initially stolen from her. She had to go to court, fight it, and get it back, and so on and so forth. So she's only been there for 2 years, and now she's struggling for her second term. But within those less than 2 years, she has really done a lot. And that has helped men to see that, listen, apart from Dorothy Matu, we had a local government chairman here once, this lady, Honorable...
From Ushongo, yes.
Yes, from Ushongo local government, Keziah Agundu. Yes. To this day, nobody has been able to beat her record. The first woman speaker in Nigeria came from Benue State. She was from Grand local government area. She was female. The first woman speaker in Africa as a whole came from that place. She did well too. She could not secure a second term and so on. But all the women who've held elective office did brilliantly well. And now there's a rallying cry from men. And I agree that more women, especially these ones who have risen to this position, need to add their voice and help those of us who are just coming up to shine and grow and succeed.
It's clearly not an issue of competence. I do agree completely with you. It's not the issue of competence as to otherwise would not have had the very long list of women, accomplished women in public service. Dr. Azige, let me quickly ask you this before you chip in what you want to say. There is the issue of perceived and entrenched culture. How does this inhibit women participation in politics?
You see, beginning from the selection of these delegates, it is usually men who select delegates. And these delegates are answerable to the men. And then in the end, when these delegates go to vote, they are not given the free will to vote women. The men that put them there as delegates determine for them who to vote. So it becomes a problem. They may know that you're credible, you're productive, you are effective, but they fear that they may not be selected as delegate next time. They do the bid of who put them there. So you see, it becomes a problem. And then I disagree when you say that women don't like women, because there are women that
I actually did not say that.
No, women has
so
many women have broken that barrier. So many women have broken that barrier. But the problem still on ground is that not very many women have funds to run elections. Some women have that zeal, but they don't have money. And then they are not there to select who becomes delegate. And so when the time comes for the voting, like I contested, and I tell you the truth, I did better than most men. But the delegates were not in my control. And so at the end, they came confessing to me that the persons who wrote their names as delegates told them who to vote. And so how was I supposed to, you know? So these are the problems.
Let me just quickly ask you this. It's been a struggle for some time. What are the imperatives for women's participation in politics? Why is it important that we have level playing ground for everybody, men, women, irrespective of your gender?
Well, it's simple. It's because we constitute 50% of the population, if not more. So why do you want to put all the power in only one side? Why do you want to work with... And this is a global problem. It's not a Nigeria thing. It's a global problem. Ordinarily, the world is patriarchal. Ordinarily. And in places like Nigeria, that is even more pronounced.
Yes.
So
yes.
We are saying that there are women out there who are competent, qualified, passionate, who are as good, if not better than men. And when I say better than men, it's simply because if you are vying for anything and the person you're contesting against is a male, you have to prove yourself twice better than that man to make it, if at all. Twice. And if you're not careful, despite being better qualified, more competent, and so on and so forth, you still lose it because of your gender. And that is wrong. What we're saying is that if people don't get these opportunities, it should be because they are not capable of handling those opportunities, not because of accidents of birth. None of us decided to be born a particular sex. So to decide that, for instance, does the fact that I'm female stop my brain from functioning properly? No. And indeed, there are things that my body can perform biologically that no man can ever do. I can get pregnant and give birth. Yeah?
Yes.
I'm yet to hear of where a man ever bragged about that.
Yes.
Yes.
And then to add my voice to her voice, if a female is not married, you find out that people keep asking questions about her marriage, her personal life, but nobody cares if the man is not married. He may be 70 years old. Nobody cares if he's married or not. Or even if he's a divorcee. Nobody cares the circumstances that led to that divorce. Nobody cares. But for a woman, they dig down to issues that are very personal.
And inconsequential.
And inconsequential. Why?
Dr. Ezike, let me take you back to the very first question I asked you as a result of what you've just said. I think it still comes back to the issue of our social system and some entrenched culture that we've had over the years. Well, we know in some parts of Nigeria where mostly in Nigeria, it's often said that women should take the back row, or women are always expected to take the back row, and all of that. It's been a culture, entrenched culture in some parts of the country. How are advocacy groups, gender advocacy groups, helping to sensitize the women folk now to break out of this entrenched culture and perhaps come out there and put themselves out there to either be voted for or to vote?
There are so many groups that have come up, even before these primaries. So many groups. Personally, I was in my state before the election. We called out women. We spoke to them. Most first ladies have programs, and they educate women. Women are now willing to vote. But this gender issue still work against women. You hear questions that you can simply not have answers for them. Because if you contest in your hometown, people are not happy with you. They send you to your husband's house. You go to your husband's house, they say you don't have a male child. You have a male child. They say that your children are just small. You may leave anytime. You don't have a child is a problem. And so what do they expect women to do? like she said, how does that make that woman less in her reasoning to govern any office? And then come to think of, is it not most women that put food on the tables of families? It's women. And so if they are put at the back, how do they get the magic that they make things happen? But men or the society or culture sees that they should remain back. Why? That they are just women.
You see, let me add voice to these absurdities. That's actually misogyny wrapped in the cotton of culture. Do you know that, because, you know, I am married. I was representing my husband's, of course, culturally. I cannot go and represent my father's house when I'm married. So I was representing my husband's place. And do you know that there were people from his place who would come to meet him? Of course, they were supporting the other person. You see, we're so worried. Your wife, she's reasonably attractive. Do you want to put her in this thing? You know how men are. So he could compromise your marriage. What is your business with how strong the marriage is or not? The man is not frightened. Why are you frightened on his behalf? Then the first person that asked me this question was a woman. How many children do you have? My mind went blank. Because when I came to see this lady, I was prepared for all kinds of... I thought she would ask me about my competency, how long I'd been in the party, yes, what was my educational qualification, what I hope to do, and all this and all this. And after we had talked for a while, and she had nicely told me she was supporting the other person, which was perfectly fine, she now wrapped it up by saying, by the way, how many children do you have? And no, I was dumbfounded. I was dumbfounded enough for one busybody to run across the room and come and answer the question on my behalf.
In changing the narrative, how quickly, how urgently do we need to have a social shift in psyche, especially for everybody now, the men folk, the women folk? How urgently do we need a social shift in psyche so that we can achieve changes?
For me now, in my constituency, yes, it's not everything is not rosy yet, obviously, from what we just said. But there are more men who are willing to give women a chance, and that is helping those women who usually take their cues from men to understand that there's nothing wrong with a woman vying for office, and that it is a good thing. But you know, because we talk about women participation in politics, if you go to rural areas, you'll be surprised. They are actively participating and engaged in politics, but at the lowest rungs possible. What does that mean? They are primarily voters. In fact, they constitute the larger percentage of the voters. But do they get to have a voice by being voted for? No. Rarely.
Very quickly before we go, I would like to have inputs from both of you. How do we expect women to act differently from men, especially if, say, they take a leadership of our nation? Do we envisage that they would act differently, if better? Very quickly.
I'm completely sure that women will act differently, because women think about their families.
Differently, like in a positive sense?
Yes, positive. Positively different. They will act better than most men. Because there's hardly any woman that occupies an office that does not think of her family. If she forgets everybody, she will not forget her mom, she will not forget her child or her dad or a sister or somebody. And this is how it grows to the society. But there are so many men who easily forget. And so any woman that is given an opportunity thinks of how she can better her family. And you know, society begins from family.
Quickly, very quickly.
I think women will do better for the simple fact that they have to. Like I said, any woman occupying any kind of office, you have to prove yourself twice a man, if not 3 times a man. And women have proven themselves over and over again. Is it Dora Akunyili? Is it Obi Ezekwesili? There are so many women. Yes, a handful of them have tried to mess the thing up for us, but it's not enough to say, no, we'll not allow women to try again. And women are out there who are competent and capable and must be given a shot.
I must thank you both for coming on the program. I have had a very interesting period discussing with you these issues. I know these are issues you're very passionate about, and I wish you very well in your future political endeavors. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
We have been speaking with two female politicians. We had Devan Mom, who is a politician, of course, and communication expert. We also had in the studios Dr. Zipporah Azige, who is also a politician, practicing politician, I dare say. It's been quite interesting speaking with both of them on this very critical issue. Of course, you're still watching Insight, and up next is our interview segment. Thanks for staying with us. Welcome to the interview segment of the program Insight. The National Office for Technological Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAP, was established by Decree number 70 of 1979, amended by Decree number 82 of 1992, now referred to as NOTAP Act Cap 268 of 1994. NOTAP is an agency, of course, of the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. It was established in response to Nigeria's need to facilitate the emergence of a strong science, technology, and innovation system. It is reflective also of the desire to evolve a strong economy based on science and technology. NOTAP, in essence, is vested with the responsibility of systematically tracking the inflow of technology into Nigeria and strategize for its adaptation and domestication. In addition to all that I've said, NOTAP also coordinates Nigeria's initiatives in technology, patenting, and intellectual property, technology advisory and support services, as well as the commercialization of research and development results. It is also its role to be a research and industry linkage. Of course, to talk more on the activities, mandate, and the role of NOTAP in our quest to push and drive science and technology in Nigeria, with me in the studio is the Director General of NOTAP, Dr. Dan Azumi Ibrahim. Did you welcome to Insight?
Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers.
I think we'll begin this conversation by looking at our indigenous technologies and why they would appear not to be competitive, especially when you put them against Western technology. Where are we, and why do we have this gap?
Well, thank you very much. You see, the world is moving from resource-based to knowledge-based economy. And the advanced world are far ahead of the developing countries. And for us as a nation, if we want to develop, we need to filter the kind of technologies that we allow to come into our country. We also need to encourage what is locally developed as our own technology. Unfortunately, because of our taste for foreign goods and services, the patronage of Nigerian local industries is very weak. So it is important for Nigerians, for all of us, to be patriotic. We cannot continue to compete with the developed world, but we can elaborate on what they have done so that we can move our country forward. What do I mean by that? If we are to compete, because the developed world are now going into space, the developed world are going into extremely skyrocketing research advances. For a developing nation, we can't continue to do. What we do is to allow imported appropriate technologies to come into the system. And we use what we call our human magnets. Our human magnets are our researchers, are our lecturers, are our professors, who should be able to adopt, study, adopt, and absorb some of those technologies and convert them to become Nigerian technologies. We cannot reinvent the wheel. So what actually happened is, yes, technologies emanate from the system. But if you look at the funding system, particularly the research establishments, they are very, very weakly funded. And there is garbage in, garbage out. If you don't get enough resources to undertake credible research and development efforts, as part of strategy, the researchers are only concerned about taking basic research to publish and get promoted. and that does not help the economy of the country. If you look at this, at the publication at the global and national levels, Nigerians have one of the highest number of publications across the globe. But that does not translate into economic development. So what is most important is take a credible research and development that could translate into products and services. And even the few services, even the few research and development efforts that demonstrated and even shown some kind of product and services, our attitudes as Nigerians, we have strong taste for foreign goods and services. So we need to be patriotic. If we don't patronize what we produce in this country, we'll continue to consume what other people are producing and importing them into our country. We are doing disservice to our nation and will never grow. You can only grow when you are able to adequately feed yourself, when you are adequately able to export some of your technologies to earn foreign exchange. So if you continue with this kind of scenario, consuming other people's products, I'm telling you, will never go forward. So as far as we are concerned now, the government has come out with what we call a revolution. This Executive Order 5. This Executive Order 5 that was recently signed by Mr. President is designed to address two things: to improve on the local content and also involve Nigerian professionals in the executions of major contracts in this country. Gone should be the days when if you see a major complex project, when you look at the projects, you see the people undertaking the project are all foreigners. And you see the quantum amount of money that leave this country after the contracts. So now if we insist that where we have competent professional Nigerians to undertake such kind of contracts, we insist, even if their margin is more than 15% ahead of what the foreigners have, we are at liberty to give to Nigerians. Where Nigerians don't have the competencies, they are free to go outside the world, outside Nigeria, get technical partners that could assist them to undertake that contract to the satisfaction of the country. So in my own opinion, there are two things. Nigerians have to be patriotic. What you are able to produce within the country, we need to patronize. If you don't patronize what you produce, the producers may not be encouraged to expand.
You made several references to research and development. Of course, there cannot be innovation without research and development. How exactly does Executive Order 5 provide for, does it in any way create or establish a structure for funding of RMD, or do you merely just encourage those with ideas, engineering ideas, or to go seek for funds? How exactly does it provide for funding for research and development?
Well, funding, there is a window for funding of research and development. Recently, when this government came into being, the present Minister of Science and Technology, in his own wisdom, saw the need for us to have what we call National Research and Innovation Council. It's a council that is established and is headed by Mr. President himself, so that we now as a nation see our research and development focus. The National Research and Innovation Council, which is chaired by the President, comprises membership from key ministries in the federal ministry in the whole country. So the idea of why the President must have to be the chairman is, if we see this is the direction the whole country is going, every minister must have to key in. If you have to put it in a particular ministry, the minister may call a meeting, not all the ministers may show up, but where the President is the chairman. Under the Research and Innovation Council programs, we have what we call Research and Development Fund, National Research and Innovation Fund. This is a fund that is expected to move some of those research and development efforts done in our universities, in our polytechnics, in our research and establishments to the next level, so that now funding becomes not an issue. Unlike what is happening now, there is no structure whatever on the ground that could fund that research and development to the next level of product and services. So that National Research and Innovation Council, the bill has been passed by the Senate and is being taken to National House of Reps for concurrency. By the time it is now passed, you understand there will be funding Nigerian professionals, Nigerian researchers can access funds to undertake credible research and development that could translate into products and services, so that we reduce dependence on foreign products, we reduce dependence on foreign services. So hopefully before the end of this year or next year, that fund should be in place. Once it is in place, that is what I believe can catapult Nigeria into prosperity.
In the STI sector, science, technology, innovation sector, there is an apparent problem, challenge, I dare say. There is what experts like yourself have described as the value of debt. That's where you have a glaring gap between the research institute and the industry. And it appears to be increasing by the day. It is a problem that we've contended with over the years. How do we reverse, or not reverse the tide right now because we were never there in the first place, but how do we make headway in closing the gap between research institute and then the industry?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I agree with you totally. The industries are looking at one side, the researchers are looking at another side. That is why most research and development efforts of our researchers in the universities and the polytechnics fall into what we call valley of death, because they are not translated into commercial venture. So long as they don't translate into commercial venture, they have little or no value to the economic development of the system. So who are the end users of those technologies? Are the industries. And I said the industries are looking at one side, the researchers are looking on another side. NOTAP has responsibility, because as regulators, we try to bring them closer to one. We have what we call NOTAP industry partnership. Under this NOTAP industry partnership, we have two very important key programs. Those key programs are designed to develop the capacities of Nigerians to undertake credible research and development that are relevant to the industry. One. Secondly, because when we ask the industries, why must you have to continue to undertake your research and development efforts outside the Nigeria? They say, yes, we have capabilities, but the structures, the infrastructures are weak. We don't have credible research and development laboratories that you may be able to undertake credible research and development efforts to translate into products and services. Government alone cannot do it. The private sectors have been making a lot of money and taking them out of this country. We feel and we insist as part of their social responsibility to also assist in developing the capacities of Nigerians and at the same time assist in providing those laboratory infrastructures. So those two programs, we started, I think, in 2015. The industries now are sponsoring intelligent Nigerians who have finished master's degree and are going for PhD. These are the critical level we need to develop if we want to develop as a system. So we started with only 5 industries sponsoring 5 research capable Nigerians to undertake research based on the operations of those industries. Now, after the first segment, we are about to round out the first segment. We had a general meeting with the industries, with the supervisors, with the candidates. I'm telling you, the industries now realize that, yes, we have potentials. And their interest is, let them finish this segment of the research so that they could move to the next level. You understand? When we advertised, then because of the success of the previous one, some more industries came in. Now we are sponsoring another additional 10. You understand? And all this research and development proposal of those candidates are based on the operations of those industries. The essence is, if the research and development is concluded, it is almost ready for commercialization because the need is there in the industry. So now we are succeeding in bringing the industry and the academia together. And so long as they are not coming together, what is produced in the universities cannot be useful to the industries. So the other issue is, yes, the infrastructure is weak. The laboratories are not good. We feel also the private sector have social responsibility to see what they can contribute. I'm telling you, we've been liaising with many of the industry. One of the industries that now came in is FZ Nigeria Limited, FZ Cousins. I'm telling you, the first segment, they expended the sum of 115 million, upgraded 3 laboratories. What is important is not only upgrading the 3 laboratories, the research team of PZ went round to those laboratories and now try to establish partnership so that they will be having like a joint research. So now you are bringing the industry and the academia together. So any research and development that is jointly undertaken by the industries and the academia are almost ready for commercialization because the need is there. So now, if we don't bring the industries and the academia together, the industry will continue to look at one side, the academia will continue to look another side, then we'll never make progress. So now we are trying to bridge the gap. And I want to use this opportunity to call on all other multinationals, particularly the manufacturing outfits, to see now how they can key into this program so that we sponsor more intelligent, young, vibrant Nigerians who have finished their masters and going for PhD, and also upgrade some of those laboratories so that credible research and development that would translate into product and services would be undertaken.
Very quickly before we let you go, I do know that in 2013, your supervising ministry, the Ministry of Science and Technology, released a list of over 100 commercializable products, of course without patent. So we have them on the ground. Where are we right now?
You see, patent is just like if you have a land and does not have certificate of occupancy. Mm-hmm. It's like it's subject and prone to encroachment. So also your intellectual activity. If you use your brains and come out with an innovation, so long as you don't protect it and you rush and publish it, it is in public domain. Anybody can take it and makes money out of it. So there is no any research and development that is not patented that has a clear vision of commercialization, because the commercialization aspect is carried out by the private sector. If you come out with research and development that I know can produce product and services, if you don't protect it, me as a commercial venture, I cannot put in my money, because somebody can use the same information and produce the same services. So what is important is to protect it. How do you protect it? You protect it through patenting. And when NOTAB realizes that there is that weak culture, we assist the innovators, the researchers, to patent their technologies. When they come to us, we assist them in filling the relevant forms, writing the relevant claims, pay the patent, take it to the patent registry, pay the patenting fee. We only call them to come and take their patent certificates. It is with that patent certificates that private sector may be able to liaise with you and move it to the next level, because they know it is protected. So long as it's not protected, you cannot move it to the next level. So I think we have started overcoming the issues. There is a very weak culture of that intellectual property in the universities, in the research establishments. So we've been sensitizing them. Now more requests are coming from the universities, from the polytechnic, from the research establishment for us to assist in patenting. I'm telling you, when we started at 2015, when we presented our situation to the Honorable Minister, he said, what we are doing was not good enough. How many patented technology were you able to get? We only were able to get 6 in 2015. Mm-hmm. He said, this is too meager. I'm telling you, when we brightened off, by 2016, we rose the figure to 16.
I would like for you to quickly address the issue of incentives for engineering scholars or for outstanding scholars. What is NOTAB doing to encourage these, giving incentives to these strata of society in order to boost activities within the sector?
You see, we are
very quickly.
We are established to promote. We are not established
to incentivize.
To incentivize, but there are agencies that we.
Are you perhaps liaising?
Of course,
you're a linkage between.
Of course.
Yes.
You see, recently, when we had a meeting with Bank of Industries, we told them as part of their social responsibility, they need to bring some of those credible research and development to produce products and services, to assist in moving them to the next level. We presented them with our 45 of those technologies. Then we sat down, we pruned them down to 6, and those are credible research that could translate into products and services. One is like a typhoid fever vaccine developed by Nigeria. You understand? So long as private sector doesn't come in, the government has responsibility, or any of its agency has responsibility to move it to the next level. So that is what we try to do. We try to link it up with the sources of funding. We don't have the fund to finance it, but we link them up. I'm telling you that typhoid fever vaccine is developed by a Nigerian He worked for over 20 years. What we import from outside is specific to certain species of typhoid. We have about 3 or 4 of them. If you take a vaccine that is only handling one aspect, it will make your typhoid fever. But now this man was able to develop a broad spectrum vaccine that once you are vaccinated, none of the 4 species of typhoid will affect you because your body will develop antibodies.
Unfortunately, thank you so much for addressing these issues. I am sure our viewers have gained some insight into the activities of NOTAB and some inroads you've made in promoting activities in the science, technology and innovation sector. Of course, we also intend and hope that you would oblige when next we ask you to come on the program.
I will be glad.
Thank you so much. We have been speaking with Dr. Dan Azumi Ibrahim, the Director General of the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAB. Up next is the segment Media Review.
This is the media review segment of Insight. We'll still be talking women in politics. Now, it's true that there is a call for continuous participation of women in politics and leadership. Yet, we continue to hear of difficulty in women achieving these heights. Now, let's ask ourselves salient questions. What is the problem? How much is the media doing to help achieve this cause of the women? Well, there are so many questions to be asked, and our guest on set today is going to help us do justice, hopefully, to this. She has had a stint in media. She had stayed well in NTA. She also runs an online forum, She Forum, which actually is an annual event which holds in the city of Abuja. Help me in welcoming Inimfong Etuk. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Founder, CEO, She Forum Africa.
That's correct.
All right. Like I said in my introduction, you've had some things in media. Now, in your opinion, how much did you say the media, let's say traditional media now, has contributed to the cause of women getting into politics, leadership, entrepreneurship, and business?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, let me talk about the role of media in at least putting women forward. You're female, you're here, you're anchoring this program, and that's a plus for the organization. A lot of media organizations, especially the traditional media organizations, have done same. So where there is need for commending, we have to commend in terms of being able to give women room to showcase their talent, to showcase their skills, especially television stations. We've seen that a lot. A lot of women anchors on radio. There are a lot of women anchors on radio shows. There's a lot of women columnists in print, and a lot of people are blogging now. So it's as far as media generally is concerned, it's a free world. Now, in terms of focusing on the capabilities of women to accent political leadership or to be part of governance structures across board, there is a lot of work that has to be done. In terms of featuring the accomplishments of women, yes, media organizations have tried, but right now the advocacy is heavy on giving women equal opportunities to access electoral votes, equal opportunities to serve as members of boards and institutions, equal opportunities to be in governance structures across leadership tiers. So there's a lot of advocacy that needs to be done. And media organizations, yes, they've got to make their money because a lot of programs are commercial and need to be paid for. But there's also the economic incentive in terms of what a woman brings to the table that must be promoted at all costs, irrespective of the ability to meet the bottom line financially.
Some have argued that the role of the women is primarily domestic. Do you agree?
Not so, but women are natural nurturers. Women are natural managers. We have a standard joke inside the organization. If the case is put forward and you literally just want to be sure of the strength and capability of a woman, put 1,000 naira on the table. Give one to a woman, give one to a man. Send them both to the market to come back with a pot of soup for the house. It's as simple as that. That is the classic examination and case study of the managerial skills in the woman. So if she's able to understand that she's got 5 mouths to feed and she's got 1,000 naira, automatically her managerial skills kick in. And she goes to that market and comes back and there is something on the table. A man just does not have that ability. It's a natural thing. It's not even competitive. It's something that's inborn. So if we are able to groom and grow that and support that natural skill and bring it to bear in leadership and governance structures, that's what we're saying, that if you expose and invest in women and bring them onto those platforms, the country and the whole world will be better for it.
Now, the FRCN recently awarded you exemplary leadership and dedication to mentoring of girls and women. And it also brings me to your She Forum Africa this year, which I titled It's Possible.
It is possible. That's a theme for this year.
It is possible. Quickly tell us what you aim to achieve.
Well, it's essentially attacking the mindset. We've talked about the importance of education, we've talked about the importance of training, and over time, a lot of people are doing their part. But right now, we are laying more emphasis on the woman herself. You know, we want to abolish the constant cry that we are not advantaged, that nobody is giving us the opportunity. We are getting past all of that narrative to change and introduce a new narrative where the woman decides that this is what I want to be and understands the steps that she needs to take to work towards what she wants to be and consciously achieve it. The simple case study also is in the political timetable that we run in the country. We like to tell, and we've been a part of series of stakeholder engagements of the women in terms of changing the mindset. And we're saying to our women, yes, it's okay and it's good to aspire for political office, but we need to learn to be strategic, more strategic in how we map our strategies towards entering and accessing political office. The job does not begin in calling for votes. The job begins right after 2019 elections we were working towards now. They are already laying their foundation. So we're beginning to tell the women, if you're seeking political office, 2019 is when you actually begin to work towards 2023, and actually 8 years down the line. It doesn't start the year before election. So there's something to be learned from understanding what the men are doing and matching and bringing our own natural skills to bear to match what they're doing and possibly excel.
Now, there are many issues and cries which hinder women achieving some of these goals that you've just stated. When it comes to forums like She Forum Africa, are they open-minded in talking about this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The issues are more, and if you go online, we try to put up as much of our content from past editions of the forum online so that the learning doesn't stop within the confines of the conference hall itself. We try to put out as much as the footage from the forum. And you hear people, it's a place where experience sharing is very organic. So there's nothing stuffy about the forum. It's very organic. It's a very natural learning and sharing environment. And the whole idea is to find the successes that come from regular women like yourself and myself and be able to find out what they did well, what they did not do so well, how we can learn from all of that, and how we can apply same to better our lives. And we lay emphasis on best practice models from all over the world, wherever they exist, because we find the best professionals to come and share, and as well as people who are aspiring or involved in startups. So everybody has something to share, everybody has something to learn from one another.
Very briefly, since the 2017 forum till now, have you had any follow-ups and want to share one or two success stories very briefly?
Absolutely. We've had 40-something-year-olds going back to school. There's nothing as inspiring as that. From listening to other people share their stories of challenges, of obstacles, of aspirations, of success, of triumph, people go back. It's, like I said, we're focusing on mindset, because if we're able to get the mindset right, mindset is everything for anybody, men, woman, and child. Mindset, if your mindset is right, you are able to wake up with a clean, clear idea of the steps that you need to take to achieve whatever your goals are in life. So our emphasis is on mindset. And if we get that right, across health, across personal development, across democracy, leadership, and governance platforms, half the job would have been done.
All right, lastly, just before I let you go, how much more, what would you suggest for traditional online media to do to drive the cause of women, even as 2019 comes around the corner? Very briefly.
The case has been made that support for women anywhere in the world, it's not just imperative. There is an economic advantage to it. Whatever you put into the life of a woman has a multiplier effect, not just on that woman, but to all her generations, with a multiplier effect on the economy of the country and of the world. Women are grassroots managers. They manage the grassroots economies from agriculture to domestic. It is in the hands of a woman. So we must understand that this is the time, if we truly want prosperity and progress for the country, this is the time to honestly, earnestly and consciously invest in women.
Inifong Etuk, CEO, founder, She Forum Africa. I've been talking with her and she's told us much about what She Forum has done and how much the media has done and should do to better a lot of women in politics, leadership, business and entrepreneurship. All right, the program is still Insights. In a while, I'll be back on with Nnamdi for the concluding parts of the program.
We did promise it was going to be an interesting episode, and for me, it was. Cecil?
Yeah, it's pretty quite interesting, and it's good to know that all our respondents in the area of women participation in politics are all singing the same tune. More women should participate, and there should be less stress in this area.
Well, we do expect that both the men folk and the women folk will go out and support women who vie for elective positions in the future. Join us same time next week for more on Insight.